If you're trying to really build a vision and create a vision and build a brand that has purpose behind it, guess what happens? People naturally become attracted to you.
Sometimes when you're doing well at some methods of gaining business, the other methods suffer.
If you want to build a business, you got to do what you got to do to get in front of the right customers to build a business.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Hook Better Leads podcast. And today I have Randy Brothers on. This might be like your third time on the podcast. How you doing, sir?
Man, I'm always grateful and blessed to be with you, my dude. This is awesome. Let's do this.
Absolutely. We're talking about why you can't get great salespeople right now. And we're talking to a very specific roofer. We're talking about a roofer that doesn't have a sales process, maybe doesn't have a training process, maybe doesn't have a great brand. But anyone who's dealing with this feeling of not being able to attract great talent, we're going to go into it in depth and maybe give you some actionable tips on how to do that. Randy, for those of you who haven't had the pleasure of watching one of the previous shows or seen your show, can you just give them a 1 to 2 minute background of your experience and why you're doing what you're doing now?
1 in 2 minutes. All right. I'm a recovering roofer. I've been roofing contracting for almost 18 years now. I started off as a general contractor. I've been building my my roofing company, my roofing brand here in the Denver market since 2010, and launched a coaching platform. So we do consulting and coaching for contractors all over the country. We have a podcast, the Start Build Grow Show, that we've had for about 6 years now. So, the whole point of that is to share the entrepreneurial journey in construction and roofing, in the roofing space. And we interview people like yourself and other influencers and other people that have awesome. And I love this industry, man. The industry, saved from being bankrupt, saved me from being homeless, and I've lived an incredible life because of this industry. And I feel like it's my purpose to give back. So that's why I do what I do, man.
I love it, man. Appreciate that. I'm going to do a little bit of a rapid fire speed round, maybe like a couple minutes per question, and about things going on in the industry right now that I would love to just pick your brain for a little bit. And then we will get into this why you can't get salespeople right now topic. So the first thing is non-competes. There's a law that just got passed that essentially dissolved non-competes. How do you think that will change things? And what are you guys doing differently?
So I can't for the masses here, but on a personal, in my opinion, man, I got rid of I got rid of non-competes a long time ago. One, if you are, and we'll get into that topic too, but if you are using any sort of 1099 with an independent contractor, anyways, that's been a thing. For employees, I feel like I don't need to have a non-compete, because if somebody wants to leave my company, it's most likely. And the reality of it is, people don't leave companies. Like, if you have a great company and a great culture and you're providing opportunities and they're growing and they have to grow and they're really embracing life there, why would they want to leave in the first place? Like, force someone to stay at my company or hurt somebody's upside or ability to work in the same industry because I have a written agreement that says you can't compete with me. Like, I've never been a fan of non-competes in the first place. However, we have a lot of proprietary information. There's a lot of stuff that we teach. We have a lot of systems and processes and KPIs and all the things that we've built over the years and the standard procedures. So we got rid of the non-competes a while ago, and now we have a non-disparagement agreement, which basically, non-discrimination, non-disparagement, which basically says you can't take our information, you can't take our customers, and you can't disparage the company. Like, if you leave the company, you can't talk bad about us publicly, right? So we have wording like that in our contracts and our agreements. So if you leave, even if it's on bad terms, it is what it is. I wish you the best. I'm not going to do anything to try to hurt your upside or hurt, your career in the roofing industry. But just, try to protect my assets a little bit as best I can.
What about Google reviews? We had to let go of an employee, and the next business day we saw a negative Google review from somebody that was like talking. I wish I had the non-disparagement in place. I actually couldn't trace it back to them technically, but they like referenced the person who let them go and everything. So and it was like not a client. So, anyways, next question. What is the Fair Labor Practice Act and how will that affect 1099 versus W 2?
I think it's actually, and I get this mixed up. I think it's the Fair Labor Standards Act. I may have quoted that wrong earlier,
Okay.
but um, and here's the thing, man. I'm not the foremost expert on this. Um, I've always operated in a way that we do have and we have had 1099s contractors. But I've always been very particular. They have their own business, like they have their own insurance, they have their own company, they have their own, EIN numbers, all the check boxes. And one of the key things here that's changed over the last month was that it states that if 90% of your income comes from one single source, you then can be categorized as a W-2 employee versus a 1099 contractor. So I think that's the one that you really got to pay attention to. So if all your income is coming from one source, then you're kind of really walking in a gray area. However, we all know government moves slow, right? I mean, this thing, the changes, the amendment to that act, the act's been around a long time, but the amendment to it, just got into place, I think in May, a month and a half ago, something like that. And it's, I believe, again, I'm not an attorney. I'm not in the boardrooms talking about this stuff, but I believe, I mean, there's 100,000 contractors out there, and a very high percentage of them have some sort of 1099, situation going on. And there's all different other industries, not just roofing. They're not like targeting roofing with this. So I believe that they're going to really focus on the big daddy, the big companies, the 3, 4, $500 million companies first, and try to really work through that before it starts getting down to the lower levels of companies. So I'm just observing. I'm meeting with attorneys. I'm trying to get as much information as I can. I'm trying to do everything, kind of cross my T's and dot my I's. And I'm going to actually have a lot more information. I have a really important meeting coming up this week with an attorney that's really been pressing into this stuff. So I'm learning. I want to learn as much as I can. I'll be talking about it on my podcast. We're going to do a podcast with an attorney, so make sure to subscribe. Here's my plug, the Starbucks.
Yeah, I think partly just picking people's brains on like what they're planning on doing. I think meet with an attorney is a great thing to throw on your to-do list regarding this new law. So,
Yeah. Well,
all right,
yeah,
let's
and
get
take
into.
precautions. We're take precautions. Like we've always been very like particular already about this, and most of our reps, if not all of our reps, actually have other sort of incomes and different things that they're doing. So we're okay for now, but it still can be. It's definitely something to pay attention to, and it could definitely change the way this industry operates going forward. And I'd rather get out in front of it, and then get taken out by it.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk a little bit about why people can't get great salespeople. Because there's people that come to you and they're struggling. I know you guys do coaching for a lot of earlier roofing businesses under 1 million, even 2, 3, 4, 5. And it goes up from there. But like you talk to a lot of people, is what I'm getting at. And when they're struggling, they can't seem to get great salespeople. We're going to give you guys a little bit of a checklist of things to like make sure are in place if you're struggling with this. So I know you'd mentioned the first one, sales system. So do they really need a sales system for their people?
So let me flip this a little bit, and
Sure.
for the listeners out there, I want you to ask yourself, okay, put yourself in the shoes of a potential sales rep. Maybe you're an owner, maybe you got into the business one way or another, or let's just say you are somebody, whether you have experience or not, that's interested in roofing sales. What's going to attract? What are the things you're looking for in a roofing company, right? Start there. And that's kind of how I try to operate a lot of my things and how I strategize building my business is I always try to put myself in the shoes of one, potential employees, potential salespeople, potential customers, and then I reverse engineer that to then try to build something that's attractive for these types of people, right? So from a sales perspective, first off, man, yes, we'll get into systems and processes, but here's the thing. Here's what I talk to contractors. I coach contractors all over the country. I've worked with hundreds of contractors, and the reality of it is, and this may hurt, this may be frustrating for somebody to hear, to be honest with you, because the ones that the charismatic leaders, the people that have good charismatic energy, the charisma, like the positive energy, big vision, and wanting to serve and wanting to help others, that just you know when you meet somebody that you're just like, man, that guy's cool. I want to learn from them. I want to be a part of what that guy's doing. Those are the ones that I see build great sales systems and great sales teams. And those are the ones that I see really accelerate their business. Doesn't mean you can't do it a different way, but that just naturally gives you a little bit more of an advantage. And I'm not saying you have to be a certain way or cut from a certain cloth, but I think that the key there is authenticity. Just be real and be passionate about what you're doing. And if you're trying to really build a vision and create a vision and build a brand that has purpose behind it, guess what happens? People naturally become attracted to you. I had a conversation today, I got on the pickleball, playing with this dude, young kid, man, super sharp kid. I play with him a little bit here, and he's really good. And he just, hey, what do you do? He works at like a really high end restaurant, and we just, connect, man. I just connect with a guy, like, pour into him. Never once have I like recruited him or tried to be like, you should come to roofing, and he started asking me questions about, oh, you have a roofing company. Okay, cool. What do you guys do? How's that? It's like, I heard about that. You just knock doors. And so we just had a natural, organic conversation about it. And I did not. Yeah, man, everybody's got knocked doors. I mean,
hey,
it's an interesting
a lot of people that don't.
I know. Well, here's the thing, and I'm with you there. We've worked really hard to not have to knock doors.
Yeah.
We've worked really hard to not have to knock doors. We don't knock very many doors. We've been around for 18 years. We got 433 reviews, one of the top rated companies in a market. We've 10,000 customers. Like it helps when you have that longevity. But here's the thing: I'm not going to sit here and be like, you don't have to knock doors. If you want to build a business, you got to do what you got to do to get in front of the right customers to build a business. Right? It just is what it is. Like I started knocking doors. I hate knocking doors, but I started knocking doors, and we make sure that if new guys are coming in, they got to know, like, you got to be able to put in the work. You're not just going to show up and get the leads that we've built for 18 years with guys that have been with me for a decade, closing at a high rate, like crushing, getting these 400 reviews. Like, you're not just going to show up and day one, cut into their opportunities. You got to earn, you got to work your way into that. And that's maybe something to think about too, is like, we've kind of created, it's not a recruit. I don't have a recruiting program. I don't recruit people. We create, a team and a culture and a model and a brand that becomes attractive to others, and they start asking us questions. And then we just brought on a guy that I've been going back and forth with for a year. I could have recruited him a year ago, and I didn't. I just stayed in touch, and I knew he had some potential. He's been doing it for 7 years. He's a beast door knocker, and he worked for some companies that I was like, well, let's see how that goes. It didn't go so well. Guess what? We stayed in touch. We connected, and now he's on board with us, right? So it's that thing. Like, I don't come at it like a used car salesman, like, you got to come work for me. You're going to make millions of dollars. No, man, I'm going to connect with you just like I would a salesperson. Connect with you and see if it's a good fit. See if you're a good culture fit. See if you have the hunger, the humility, the drive, the intentionality, the sharpness, the emotional intelligence to be successful. I want to figure all that out before I recruit you or before I present you with an opportunity to come into this business. And I think a lot of people get that wrong.
That's good. What are the other things that, if you had a checklist and you're going down it and you're like, if you don't have this, get it in place. If you're currently having a hard time getting great salespeople in place. Brand
recognition. Okay. Have a brand at least that looks good, right? Call my boy Tim. Have a good website. Like, you need to have a website. Like, make sure you're starting to rank. Make sure you get some good reviews. Make sure you present yourself well, first off, And then you really got to have a sales system. Like, you want this day and age, if you can't bring someone in and treat them like a professional, like sales rep day one, onboarding, orientation, sales training, in office training, virtual training, field training. Like, if you don't have a process in place, this is our sales manual, right? It's not nothing crazy, but this thing is 54 pages long. It's 54 pages explaining step by step what you have, what your requirement is as a sales rep. Who has that? Very few people do. And here's the thing: if you're some new company and you can get that TRA, I'll give you this. If you're a member of the Roofing Academy for a couple $1,000, you get that, and now you can make millions of dollars off it, right? So it's just the simple things that people know are important that we don't actually put the time and energy into build and create and do. Those are the difference makers. So you got to have a system, a hiring, onboarding, training system. And if you do that, if you train someone, if you teach, what do they say? If you teach a man to fish, they'll eat for a lifetime. If you just throw them a bone and give them a fish, they'll eat for a meal, right? So we want to approach this from I don't want a sales rep that's just going to work with me for 2 months and fizzle out. I want a sales rep that's willing to, that's going to be here for a life, for the lifetime, make a commitment. And we need to think about that. I'm kind of off on a tangent here, but I'm passionate about this stuff because we need to be thinking about that from all three perspectives. My staff, I want staff to work with us their whole career. It doesn't always work that way, obviously, but I want staff that's going to work with us their whole career. I want sales reps that if we provide an incredible experience, incredible opportunity for them and their families, I want them to work their whole career. Customers, I want customers for life. I want a customer that when we as a team serve that customer, that they're getting an experience unlike any other experience they're going to get from a roofing contractor. They won't even think twice about calling us again. That's how you stop knocking doors. But it takes a while. You got to work your way to that.
So you're saying people need good websites and stuff like that. The thing I see is when people are good at knocking doors or are good at the storm thing and they find themselves basically satisfied with that. And so I call it an embarrassment of riches. Sometimes when you're doing well at some methods of gaining business, the other methods suffer because you're really good at this. So I've seen people with the shittiest websites. What's that?
So Rilla allows you to listen to it's an AI in your pocket. Listens to the appointment. It's pretty crazy what it can do. It gives a script, gives everything they said. It breaks down some statistics for you.
Analyze talk ratio, interactivity, like how you and I are interacting back and forth. Long as modeling, like all those things.
This is the shit that I most believe in AI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Enhancing the
You're
user
about to put
experience.
math and data around something that used to be my magic skill.
It's nature. It's human nature. We always want to take the path of least resistance. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right? I can knock doors. We can teach guys to knock doors. Cool, great. A lot of companies do that. By all means, like that, you can do that. But here's the thing: if that's your only way to grow your business, and you're not investing in your brand, you're not investing in your website, you're not investing in your reviews, you're not investing in your other marketing and your culture and your business, you're going to always be recruiting new reps. They're going to come, they're going to go. They're going to come, they're going to go. They're going to come, they're going to go. Every year, you got to rebuild your team. Every year, you got to rebuild a new team. Because the attrition rate is extremely high with that business model. And people understand that. It's just a numbers game. I'll hire 10 guys a week and 2 of them will work. One of them might get me a couple leads. Cool. Then they're going to fizzle out the next week. But hey, at the end of the day, hire 3 deals. Keep rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And it just burns through people, and I don't like it, you know?
Yeah, talk to me. Okay, so it burns through people. Anything else you want to say about the danger with that? Because I do think that it's very common, and respectfully, like even when it's not malicious or even as bad as what you just described, it is a pattern, even with okay companies. You know, like it's almost a recommendation sometimes with some of these roofing coaches and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what is really bad? Is there anything else that's really bad besides just burning through them? Because that's a strategy for some people.
I think it comes down to what the ultimate goal is for leadership and the ownership of the business. Okay, if I'm sitting at the top of some business and all I care about is building the biggest, baddest monster company I can possibly build, and I don't care about how many people it takes to get there, right? Hey, some people, I've seen so many companies that get huge, 30, 40, 50, $100 million companies, but you look at their attrition rate, they're not, they're recruiting companies. Literally every single week, there's a room full of new recruits, and they churn and burn and churn and burn and churn and burn, and it's purely a numbers game. And to each their own. If you're an entrepreneur and you see the big picture of that and you want to just build 100, congratulations. Like, I'm not saying that's not right or wrong. Like, that's just not how I prefer to treat human beings.
Yeah.
Right? I would rather interview 10 people, make it really hard to get on my team. And when you got on my team, you stay with me for 10 years and you make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's what I would rather do. That's just how I operate. That's just, I know I'm a little bit passionate about it because I came up in both organizations, and I've struggled with it because there's years where, if you don't got massive storms and you don't got locations all over the place, it gets pretty tight, and it gets, you start having to thin your herd a little bit, having to really tighten things up because you don't have as much flexibility because you're not just churning and burning and recruiting like that. But, so I've gone back and forth with how to operate and how to change if I adapt and adjust my business. But at the end of the day, our why statement, our mission statement is to challenge the status quo, which means do things differently. So I don't do things that way. We do it differently. And then create opportunities for people that with a focus on quality of life. So if I can leverage my company to, one, do things differently, and two, find and bring on people that with the sole purpose of helping them have a better quality of life, I sleep better at night. And we in turn build an amazing culture of people that'll run through brick walls, and they don't leave. They want to be a part of what we're doing because of that. Like we eat, sleep, and breathe that. And that's the key to this whole thing, this whole question, is you build something with purpose, man, that people want to can be a part of what you built.
I appreciate it. Randy, there's different types of people. They aren't all, and frankly, you probably weren't as naturally charismatic as you are now. Like when you started, I'm sure you've cultivated some of this. But like, let's say I'm not quite there, but I want to build a culture where people will run through walls for me.
Yeah.
What would be like some steps I could take to, like, besides the soft stuff? I mean, I know the soft stuff. We need vision and purpose, and we probably need a big why. Get those things, but is there anything else I could do to like create that loyalty with people?
You really got to. It starts with you. Like me, when I first got started, looking back at the person I was when I got my business going into the person I am now, night and day, man. I spend more time like reading books and trying to surround myself with people that are very influential in my life in a positive way, and like personal development and prayer and all the things that really help me to. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best leader by no means. I got a long way to go, but I'm on a journey of getting better each and every day. And you see my tagline on my email and stuff, but it's just like, as long as I can make sure to focus every single day, just be a little bit better today than as a human being, as a leader, as a father, as a husband, just be a little bit better today than I was yesterday. And if if I'm consistent with that, it just starts to manifest itself. And I had to go to jail. I had to go bankrupt. I had to, nearly lose my marriage. Like all the things I had to like go through to realize, like, dude, take a step away from yourself and look at who you are. Where are your blind spots, and how do you focus on being a better person? And to this day, I'd like to think, man, who you see on this podcast is the same person you're going to see on Friday night at midnight, or out if I'm out and about or what. Like, I try very hard to be consistent and just be authentic and show up the same way all the time. And that's just, and again, I'm not perfect by no means, but I think it's like, we have these facades and these masks that we wear as human beings. And the more we can expose it and more we can kind of really dial in who we are as people and understand our strengths, understand our weaknesses, and surround ourselves with people that bring us up and lift us up and make us better at the same time with the focus of helping make them better, guess what happens? Everybody gets better.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm having my leaders in my company right now read just Leadership 101, very small book by
Mm-hmm.
John Maxwell, but I'm almost just trying to get them comfortable with the idea of leadership ability. Like I want them to understand that's like, because I think sometimes in businesses, like we think it's talent or results, right? And it is partly results, right? Like we have to have guys that sell
Yeah.
deals. We
Yeah.
have to we have to have people that
Hey,
get the production done right. Like right, like
don't
we
get
need
it
all those.
twisted, man.
Yeah.
This is a performance-based business. I have high expectations for myself, but I have high expectations for every single person that works with me. And they know it. Like
Yeah, and
I love you and I'm going to be the best leader I can, but you better show up and get it done. It ain't about 9 to 5. It's about getting it done. And if I'm going to work on stretching myself and getting better every day, I expect you to do the same. And we all get better together. So this is a performance-based business. Don't get that twisted. However,
yeah, I
lead with
appreciate.
empathy,
Yeah.
treat people like equals, and really try to like coach your team and help people get better. At the same time, listen to them and let them pour into you so you can get better.
Mm. Okay, yeah. And a lot of the people that I'm trying to like pay attention to, like high performing business owners, are saying that to me right now. Or like when I pick their brain about it, they're like, you need to get focused on your stuff. Like you need to level up. And if there's anything else, the immediate leaders right around you. Because we can't, as you grow, it's really hard to affect everyone in my team, man. Like
Yeah.
we've got 28 people, 29 people soon, and then 30. Like it's going quick. So it's like, no, focus on these three people right around you. So we're reading, as a leadership team, we're reading this book, and I just want them to know leadership ability matters. Like your ability, because that's a really hard thing to tell people. You know what I mean? Like it's a hard thing that they realize that it's not just their individual contributor stuff. It's like how you affect people around you. I don't know how. I'm having a hard time getting people. You know who I'm talking about, the high performer that has a little bit less team player in them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that
Yep.
person, that guy. Like, how do I get that guy or that girl to recognize that they're going to be judged on their leadership ability as well? Like, I get it. Like, you were so good that you got elevated. Now you have leadership responsibilities. I need to see you not affecting people around you negatively, first of all. And two, how can I get that person like contributing more on like the vibe of the organization and the positivity of the organization?
Yeah. Coaching one-on-one, man. We as leaders, like our direct reports, we need to coach them. We need to listen to them. We need to find what motivates them, what makes them tick. Personality assessments. We'll use leadership style assessments, personal style assessments. There's one thing you mentioned as like a book that you can do here too is there's one called The Geniuses by Patrick Lencioni. And it's a little assessment you take. And there's 6 different working geniuses that everybody has. We all have them. But 2 of them are our strengths. Like that's what we're really good at and we love to do. 2 of them are like marginal, which we can do and we're okay with. And then 2 of them we absolutely hate and despise. And so many times we put people in leadership position and the things that they're expected to do not fit within what they're good at and what they like to do. So then you get a poor performance. And then you think it's the person like, well, you're performing like crap. No, I just put you in a bad position. I put you doing something that's not your genius, like not something you're really good at, right? So that's a part of us growing as leaders is to identify that in the people we're working with and try to build and put them in positions that accentuate their geniuses and minimize their frustrations, the things they just don't like to do. That's a strategy
Randy,
for anybody listening.
you got a very good mind on your shoulders, a really good brain. I think sometimes I struggle with the back and forth with business owners that sometimes like trying to figure out who should be a business owner and maybe sometimes somebody shouldn't. And like it's hard because some of us might feel unemployable and like hard to work with and kind of hard headed and even have our own vision. But how do you know when you're that versus you should be working for somebody else? You know what I mean? Like when, or like, how do you know you should be out on your own? Because this is a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of responsibility to be a leader. And you have people, like, especially if you're employing even one or two people, you have a ton of responsibility. Like you could screw up their life. You could promise them too much. And in 2 years, you can't get there if you break down and your company dies. So how do you know you're the guy? How do you know, or the girl? How do you know you're that person that's going to make a business that's of substance and could actually be a leader and a culture that will go more than a couple of years, I guess.
Great question, man. And I started my business from a place of ego and wanting to just prove people wrong and make money and just, like stick it to the man with a chip on my shoulder, right? I was kind of like a little of an outcast growing up. And I've learned that like the people will tell you, right? And now I'm just kind of ad-libbing here, but like just as you ask that question, like look at your surroundings, man. Are people coming to you and asking you things and leaning on your wisdom and your knowledge and leaning into you and your ability? Like that'll, I don't know, listen to the people around you. Are they telling you? And this could be double-edged sword though. I gotta be careful here because people around you, that this could be fuel though. People around you could be telling you not to do it. You're not good. You're not that. And that could be like a fuel to the fire to be like, no, I am and I can do it. Great. Use that. If you feel like in your heart that you, like for me, when I went and started my business, I had a good gig, man. I was a top performer from one of the biggest companies in the country, and I pretty much could write my own ticket as to what I wanted to do. If I wanted to be a GM or sales rep, sales leader, or start opening offices and travel, could have wrote my own ticket there. But there was just this burning desire inside my heart and inside my soul that when I approached the owner of the company, that when I left, I was like, I am going to regret not doing this and not becoming an entrepreneur and becoming a leader for the rest of my life. Like that's how much of a burning desire I had in my heart to do it and try. And that's what put me in a place where I'm willing to put all my chips on the table. I'm willing to jump off the bridge and start building my boat. I had no money. I had no, nest egg. I had no body. I just knew that I wanted to try. And it was just this burning desire. And I feel like if you can't tap into that, something like that along those lines, it's hard to identify your why and your purpose and become that charismatic leader if you don't have that burning desire to build a business with purpose. What's your reasoning for why do you want to start your business? And I think that really leaning into that will help identify and answer the question you're asking.
Jogs a lot of things for me. I always, when people ask that question about the why, I mean, I always come up with something, but I always feel like a little bit like I'm making something up for the sake of the discussion.
Yeah.
But there is something I say sometimes that I think is very true for me that could be considered a why, which is that I don't just want the money. Like I just say I'm so greedy. I'm so greedy that I don't just want the money. I want to make a big impact on people's lives, and I want to have fun at work, and I want to work with people I like, and I want to make money, and I want so many things. And I think sometimes it just comes, maybe the why, like for me authentically right now, is just, it kind of comes out of that. It's like
Yeah,
it's a
man.
little bit of a greed, but it goes deeper than money. You know what I mean? Like I really couldn't do this again. I couldn't work for somebody else again, knowing how good it can be pretty good when you work for yourself. If you're that type of person, like what you're talking about,
If you're the
that
right
person,
person.
if
Yep.
you're that person, because you are driven enough to do whatever it takes to get to the spot where your vision can kind of take shape. Like you kind of have to be willing to sacrifice a lot though. And that's, I think, what I think a lot of people don't fully understand when they first start business. They think there's going to be no sacrifices. They think that it's just going to be like, beach with the computer kind of look from influencers,
Yeah.
like business influencers or something like that. It's like, well,
Well, especially 'cause I think too many people like put on this facade that they're like, they start this little roofing company and then next thing you know, they're flaunting whatever it is they're flaunting, and little do they know they aren't making no damn profit, but they're showing like they got all this money and these cars and travel and whatever they're showing off. And then whoever's maybe the guy's working for them, like, oh, that guy is traveling and blowing all this money. I can do that. I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah.
And then they start a roofing company. They realize like, no, it doesn't really work that way. You know what I mean? You could put on a face and misuse company funds pretty quick and easy in this business, and a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I'm probably ruffling some
Yeah.
feathers, but we're into this. It is what it is, man. You got to kind of pick a side, but like, I
Yeah.
started my business with it, like, do this shit the right way, man. Like, and then you
Yeah.
create like sustainability for a long time. I don't want just
Yeah.
3 years of blah, blah, buy a Lambo and peace out. Like, I want to create something that like my generations can be proud of, my kids can be proud of, my staff and their kids can be proud of. Like, it's just a different, and it's when you do it worth the time, money just becomes a byproduct. It becomes more of a tool to help you buy yourself more time and empower more people. That's what money is to me. The more money I can make, the more people I can empower, and the more time I can give back to myself to do the things I want to do.
Yeah. It's good stuff. All right. I've got a new series kind of within the podcast called Private Equity Corner, and I'm going to apply this today to the salespeople hunt. How is private equity affecting, or how do you believe it will affect the ability to get salespeople? Do you think we're going to, like, let's say, if we're competing with them, is it going to be harder to get people, or if we're being rolled up with them or whatever, will it make it easier to get people or harder? Any thoughts on that?
If you truly believe in what you're doing and you want to be the best version of yourself and you want to build a great organization, there's no other place to do that besides the Roofing Academy.
I don't know if I think we're still too early in the game to see if it's going to have a massive impact on whether you can get salespeople or not get salespeople. Because at the end of the day, man, if I can meet somebody and show them an opportunity to be successful and have a brand and a culture and stuff to back that up, who cares who owns the company? It's mine or if it's owned by private equity or whatever. I can still recruit people. I can still bring people into the culture, bring people into the mix, regardless of it. And maybe like the sales reps that bounce around to company or that's looking for the greener grass all the time, they may be wanting to go with like I don't know. Maybe they're more attracted to a private equity situation because it kind of puts them to where they think they may have more leverage or they can make more money, or vice versa. Maybe they're like, I don't want that because I want to sales reps take advantage of roofing owners that don't know what they're doing.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say there's probably a lot of roofing salespeople out there that are getting a really good deal.
Oh
and
my
the
God.
owner doesn't know it because they don't know their numbers well enough to know that they should not be giving that much to the salesperson.
And then guess what happens? Okay. Sales rep gets some sweetheart deal that they're making all the money. The the owner acts out of desperation. One, they just don't know what they don't know, and they right, so they just give up the farm and commit to X, Y, and Z, like to pay that sales rep way more than they should get paid. And then all of a sudden, the owner at some point realizes, like, oh crap, I made a mistake. And then what do? They protect themselves. They make bad decisions. And I'm not saying people do this intentionally. I think it's accidentally. This happens. Every single person listening to this podcast has heard this story, or this story has happened to them one way or another. Sales rep didn't get paid by the roofer, right? Or by the roofing owner. And it's always the roofing owner's problem. But what about the business side of this? So a roofing owner makes a sweetheart deal to that sales rep, and the sales rep goes out and performs or doesn't perform or whatever and leaves for whatever reason. Now that owner is conflicted because a lot of times they overpromised and they literally don't have the funds and they don't have the profitability to then own their commitment that they make. So then what do? They protect themselves, and then now that salesperson, quote unquote, gets screwed, and vice versa. Like, so it happens all the time. I don't believe people do it intentionally. There are some people probably like kind of manipulate the system and intentionally rip people off. Those people can go pound sand, go to another industry, or go to church, whatever. But at the end of the day, I think people are genuine. I believe in people. I believe that people have the right intention. They just don't know what they don't know. They make bad decisions. They do sweetheart deals. And then once they realize it, then they make more bad decisions in not owning those deals, because we're all going to protect ourselves first, right? So that's why we coach, and that's why we help people through these situations.
Comment below if you think it's intentional or not intentional. I know that this one always gets people riled up.
Yep.
So tell us your thoughts in the comments. I tend to think that, honestly, it helps my brain that when somebody does something that's evil or feels wrong, that it's generally unintentional. I do that in my own brain because it helps me like not constantly keep everyone at arm's length. Because otherwise, I think you get so burned and frustrated with people that you just like start to go, oh, because life is full of a lot of disappointments and people let you down and things like that. So for me, I like to think of it that way. I think that part of it is, though, roofing has had a bad rap for this, and other home service businesses have a bad rap for this. Mm-hmm. Changing incentive plans, confusing the incentive plans so that then we got to fire people or whatever it is. There's just a lot around this that's like, it's age old, it's a tale as old as roofing companies or something. So like, part of this is like, as an industry, we have to change the reputation. Like, this has to get better. Something's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, this is probably partly what the legislation around W-2s versus 1099s is aimed. Like, they're always, the government's not going to fix jack shit, but it's trying to, like the non-competes thing. Like, these are things that are trying to make it more fair for workers. And there is some unfairness in this industry, roofing, in this industry around roofing salespeople getting effed over. So like, really, if we took extreme ownership of this, it'd be like, what can we do to work on this as an industry? Like, what can we do, Randy, to work on this as an industry? As a patriarch of the industry, I task you with some small tip to help us work on this.
2 quick answers from both sides. Okay. Roofers. If you make a bad deal and you make a commitment, freaking own that commitment, man. Suck it up, pay out what you said you're going to pay out, and then change it later. Don't just change it and expect someone to be okay with that. You made a commitment. Deal with your commitment. Learn from your mistake and move on. Been there, done that. I've overpaid a lot. But I've never like changed. Like, no, I'm not paying you because I told you I would pay you, and I was an idiot and didn't pay you. Didn't know what the hell I was talking about. No. Hey, sorry, I screwed up because I overcommitted to this structure, this deal. But I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna pay you. However, going forward, I need to make an adjustment. My bad. But here's the reason why. Blah blah blah. And be transparent about it. Sales guys. 1, don't be greedy. 2, don't the grass is not always freaking greener. Like, stop chasing the greener grass. You know what I mean? Like, think long term, think sustainability, think, what you can do with your time and energy and effort to build a successful career for yourself. And don't just always be looking for the extra percentage that some other roofer is going to give you, because you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're probably going to get ripped off. So,
Yeah,
sales guys, it's no greener
not
grass.
just
Stop being
price.
greedy. Roofers, own your mistakes. And when you make a deal, own it and pay out.
Sorry, I was interrupting there. I always say, like, it's not just the price, the terms. Focus on the terms. And in this case, one of the terms might be, this deal is too good and this business owner is either going to go out of business, or they might not fulfill on this too good of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, think about the terms, not just the price. That's like, that changed my mind a number of years ago, back in the day when somebody told me that. It was very useful. Look at the terms. And sometimes they're not stated, like, it's not always in the paperwork. Sometimes the term is just, that business owner, it's not going to work. Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, so covering just a little bit of that private equity thing, respectfully, I'm sure you have some other opinions on private equity stuff. Is there anything else you want to share very quickly, or?
I believe, regardless of your end game, right? And I teach this. You've seen some of my talks, and I'm big on leadership, and I'm big on, like, understanding what your end game is. Like, it's like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen Covey's like, begin with the end in mind. What is your end game? Okay. And whether it's a legacy company that you're trying to pass down to your generations, or if it's a company you're trying to build to sell, maybe you're selling to private equity, maybe you're going to sell to your employees, or with an imam or something like that. Or maybe it's a lifestyle business. Maybe you just want to build a business that pays you out a few $100,000 a year. You work for 7 months, you take 5 months, whatever it might be, figure that out. And build a business that has value. So regardless of what that end game is, figure that out, because that's going to be your purpose and what your drive and motivation is. But either way, regardless of what that end game is, you need to build a company that has value. And in order to do that, you have to, one, run the business by the numbers. You've got to have your numbers dialed in. You got to understand, what metrics to look at, to evaluate, to have in place. You got to have key performance indicators for every single person in your organization. You got to have your numbers dialed in from a financial perspective, understanding variable costs, fixed costs, investment costs, capital expenditures, understanding your marketing expenses. We're talking about, investing in marketing, and that's a big part of this podcast too. Like, you got to know those numbers. You got to budget and be intentional about how you allocate funds to then build your business. Overhead can make or break you. People can grow and scale and make an incredible business. Great. They can also bring your business down financially. So your overhead is vitally important in understanding. Like, I like to say this: figure out what it costs you to walk in, put the key in the freaking door, unlock that door, walk in, and flip a light switch on. What does that cost you as a business owner?
Figure that out.
Figure that out. Oh, I got 27, 28 employees too, bro. Like, it's like a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, sales reps don't realize it. Like, oh, you're making half the profit. No, I'm freaking not, man. Come on. Like, it's you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars a month just to walk in and flip the light switch on Monday morning. Understand that cost, and then make adjustments up or down based off sales, based off revenue, based off, how you operate your business.
Yeah, I know we're not going to cover the whole gamut of things to make a powerful business, whether you're selling to private equity or you're making a legacy business or whatever it happens to be. But I do want to recommend, whether you're dealing with problems with people, whether you're trying to tighten up your process or really get your numbers in order and make sure that you're getting the profit that you deserve, I want to recommend that you check out the Roofing Academy. They've got a surplus of knowledge, and I've people that I've talked to have essentially just off the dome just spewed a testimonial at me about the videos that you guys have. They have a whole like it's basically like a school, and it's from, I think one of these things is it's from a successful roofing business owner that's currently operating a roofing business, and like his team, and like the ability to be able to give you information that like could, one, save you a lot of heartache and problems, and two, help you just grow a little quicker. Because I think like I would guess, Randy, I don't know, maybe you've saved some people from bankruptcy and stuff like that, but like you're probably going to accelerate people that are already going to do well and help them go quicker.
Absolutely.
And just like not hit some of these obvious pitfalls that you could hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess, where can they go check that out, Randy?
I mean, the fastest place, well, YouTube, right? We're probably seeing this. If you're watching this, go to our YouTube channel, The Roofing Academy. We have a ton of content on there, lots of links to, book calls with me. But our website is theroofingacademy.com. And you can always find me on all the social medias and primarily Facebook. You can DM me and we can connect there for sure.
And I think what's cool too is like you've got resources. It's a academy, but it's also got you've got resources like you could help them with like bookkeeping, or like you have additional deeper resources if they want to use that type of stuff through you guys.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a full business. It's hard to explain, but it's a full roofing business in a box. Like when you become a member, it's a very, marginal expense. You're investing in yourself, but when you become a member, like you literally have access to, I mean, there's not one thing that I can't connect you with if I don't teach you directly, or I don't have one of our coaches teach you directly, that you can't plug and play and find the right resources for your business. From
awesome, man. Well, thank you for
marketing, whatever, sales, the whole deal.
Love it, man. Well, appreciate you for joining us. The podcast is put on by hookagency.com, Hook Agency all over social media. It is always a pleasure, Randy. And I'm just grateful that you took the time to be on the show. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Always a fun, man.